Cha Eunwoo's return to the military camp after attending a series of important schedules at APEC 2025 made all fans, the Korean public, to the international media wait for what he would say. Not only because of his status as one of the most famous visuals in the Korean entertainment industry, but because of his always calm, professional, and respectful attitude in every occasion. But this time it was different. As Eunwoo stepped through the camp gates, with her cropped hair beginning to grow back after the APEC event, the look in her eyes revealed an unusual emotion. A combination of fatigue, longing, and gratitude that seemed almost to burst into tears. There were no cameras around him, no big stage, no spotlights. Only one Cha Eunwoo returned to being an ordinary soldier, a child, a best friend, and a young man trying to catch his breath again after the world had watched him so intensely. But it was precisely in that moment of silence that the most touching words were born, words that later made many of the soldiers who heard them fall silent. Some lowered their heads to hide their suddenly heated eyes, shortly after dropping off his military backpack at the dormitory. His platoon mates who saw his arrival immediately approached. They patted him on the shoulder proudly, greeted him with a chuckle, and teased, "Hey, the big celebrity is back." Eunwoo smiled, but that smile holds a long story that has never been told before. When the commander asked him to speak briefly as a form of welcome, no one expected that Eunwoo would say something so honest. With a slightly trembling breath, he began the first sentence that later became the core of the discussion of the entire Korean media for days. "I came back with a much fuller heart than when I left," he said slowly, but firmly, making everyone involuntarily direct attention to him. "For the past few days, I felt like I was looking at myself from the outside. The world sees me differently, but here, you see me for who I am." Those words alone changed the mood. Some of the soldiers who were usually hard were seen starting to soften. Yet Eunwoo continued with something more emotional, something that had never been revealed before, even to her own fans. He admitted that the most difficult moment for him during his time outside the camp was not the tight schedule, the camera spotlight, or the pressure of the international media, but one thing: the feeling of wanting to return to a simple routine with his colleagues. "I do not know why," he continued quietly, "but when the show was over, when the applause stopped, the only thing that went through my head was, I want to go back. I wanted to go back to a place where I could rest without having to think about who was looking at me, or what I should do so as not to disappoint anyone." The atmosphere was quiet, and several people began to stare at the floor. Almost never has a celebrity spoken so deeply about the sense of wanting to return to his military life, let alone in front of his fellow units. But Eunwoo didn't stop there. He added something more touching, something that later became the most viral quote in the entire media. "When I stood on the APEC stage, I felt proud to represent Korea. But when I stand in front of you now, it feels so much more meaningful. Because here, I don't need to be anyone but myself." At that point, some soldiers covered their faces with their hands, trying to contain their emotions. The atmosphere that was initially just a small welcome turned into an unforgettable moment. They see not Cha Eunwoo the superstar, not idol number one with millions of fans, but a young man who rediscovers his human side amid the rigors of military life. But the most touching part of Eunwoo's statement came when he talked about his family, especially his mother, who cried with happiness after seeing him perform perfectly at APEC 2025. With an almost quivering voice, Eunwoo said, "Mom looked at me as if I were a child that she taught to walk, but I know that behind that smile he harbored a concern he never spoke of. I know he's proud, and I just want to say, I will always make him proud, whether I'm wearing a military uniform or standing as Cha Eunwoo on stage." His colleagues began to pat each other on the shoulder, trying to pull themselves together. Even the most resolute famous commander could only nod silently. Eunwoo's words weren't just touching as an ordinary sentence. They were a reminder that behind the glittering world of celebrities, there are hearts that work hard to stay strong. There are feelings that no camera can hide. Afterwards, Eunwoo spoke about something he had never revealed to the public before: his fear. "I'm afraid I can't live up to expectations," he says honestly. "I'm afraid that everything I do is not enough." But then it dawned on me. Here, I learned how to believe in myself again. He looked at his colleagues one by one, as if to make sure they heard and felt him. You all make me feel that I am not just someone the world sees, but someone who is valued for being. And that's more than enough. The room was quiet again, but this time it was a meaningful silence. A colleague closest to Eunwoo said that this was the first time they had seen him speak unfiltered, without trying to be perfect. "He looks like an older brother," said one soldier afterwards. "Not a celebrity, not an idol, but someone who really wants to convey his feelings." But the emotional culmination of Eunwoo's words came when he spoke of his fans, the Aroha, who have waited, supported, and loved him for years. In a soft voice he said, "I see banners, sayings, comments, and messages from people I have never met, but who give me more power than I can express. I want to say that your love was not in vain. I feel it every day, even when I'm here." He paused for a moment, then added with slightly teary eyes, "I came back to this camp with a lot of love that I brought from outside, and I want to share it with all of you." The words went viral in a matter of hours after several soldiers who heard them wrote down what Eunwoo had said to the military's online community. The public was immediately captivated by the sincerity so rarely seen from a celebrity of international caliber. Many commented that they had never felt this close to Cha Eunwoo before, even after years of following his career. Korean media began to highlight Eunwoo's new side, not just as a famous face or a top actor, but as a human being who wasn't afraid to show his vulnerability. Article after article discussed how those words reflected how harsh a world he lived in, and how the military was precisely the place where he rediscovered calm. But what was most touching was how his unit mates treated Eunwoo after the speech. They stopped flirting, stopped calling him celebrity, and began to treat him with more sincere warmth. One soldier even said, "We no longer see him as Cha Eunwoo ASTRO. In our eyes, he's just Eunwoo, a friend who wants to do his best." In the following days, Eunwoo looked more relaxed and happier. He began to laugh more often, eat with his friends, and even participate in exercises with different energies. His coaches admitted that he became much more confident than before, as if the words he spoke were not only for others but also for himself. And the last words he uttered before returning to the barracks that night were the ones that made the entire camp freeze for a few seconds, the ones that were then heavily printed by the Korean media. "I'm back not just as a soldier but as my more honest self. Thank you for accepting me as I am." That sentence became a new symbol of Cha Eunwoo's gentle and humane side, a sentence that crosses the boundaries of celebrity, crosses the military world, and touches the heart of whoever hears it. As the night wore on and the camp lights began to go out, many soldiers were still talking about Eunwoo's words. Some whispered with a small smile, some just nodded slowly as if still thinking about the meaning of the speech. A colleague who slept one bunk below even claimed to have seen Eunwoo sitting for a while before going to bed, looking out the dark window while taking a deep breath, not out of sadness, but out of relief. It was as if the burden he had been carrying since APEC had only really come off that night.